Welcome to the Energy in Motion podcast, exploring what makes us move, what makes us thrive, what makes us happy, what keeps us alive. I'm Suzy Rowland, a mother, writer, poet, and founder of the Happy in School project. As humans, we are emotional beings, literally energy in motion, which each of us express uniquely. Our energies influence everything in our lives. Join me in conversation with an eclectic range of guests using their energies to powerful effect. Tune in for the first series of Energy in Motion podcast. You'll find the Energy in Motion podcast on your favourite digital download channels. I can't wait for you to tune in and relax and enjoy the sound of Energy in Motion. Hey, Khembe.
Hi.
Hi, welcome to the Energy in Motion podcast. And today, I'm really excited to talk to you about your event, the Return to Your Roots, because I've attended a few and seen it grow and develop over the years. So just tell me about the title, Return to Your Roots. That intrigues me.
Okay. So, first of all, thank you so much for having this talk with me. It's lovely to be able to do that with you, actually. Yes. So, Return to Your Roots, the title, where did that come from? That really came from time just thinking about reflecting on some of the conversations that I had with some of my hair clients at the time. I had a natural hair salon in the jewelry quarter. And, you know, when you're doing somebody's hair, it's more than just doing hair. We talk, we express how we're feeling, we reflect, we raise issues, and we're better to talk about something like hair. So a lot of my clients at the time were around the age of like 40, thinking about change, thinking about how they really want to show up as their authentic selves. And we just got into conversations about, okay, what can we do for women to bring us together, to just, you know, talk more and talk about our hair and how we feel about our hair. So the idea of Return to Your Roots came to me during that kind of period. And why that title? If you think about returning to your roots, roots conjures up ideas of like roots of your hair, for example, and roots in terms of health and wellness, food.
And roots and culture.
Yeah, the whole, you know, return to your roots. And even in terms of like music, for example, yeah, we used to talk about roots and culture, right? Returning to your roots. So that title just stuck in my head actually because it did quite a number of things. It covered all that we wanted to talk about and look at in terms of hair and wellness and also in terms of health. So it encapsulated the whole thing. And by the way, talking about hair, we also talk about the health of somebody's hair. Is it just about putting things on our hair or is it about what we actually eat? So we can nourish our hair from inside as well. So that opened up a whole new sphere in terms of health and wellness in the broadest sense, but also in terms of hair as a kind of specific focus. Yeah.
Because hair is like it's a big part of a big expression of how well you are, because obviously people who are not well, you know, they talk about having lackluster hair or thinning hair or balding hair, or then as women and men, we go as we age and have life changes, our hair changes with us. So we have different hair in pregnancy, different hair in menopause. Our hair is impacted by our stress. So I think the title is beautiful because it does encapsulate all of that. And then you move into the wellness aspect. But just staying on the hair for a minute, as a Black woman and as Black women, we have both traveled a long way in terms of how our hair is styled. Now, going back in a few decades, I have had what was called the curly perm. I've
You
had
mean with all that wet?
the wet look, relaxers, extensions, in all of these things, but anything, it's almost anything but having your hair as it grows out of your head. And I
Yeah,
know I'm not unique in that. So why have black women gone through those machinations to deny their hair growing out their head as it grows?
yes. Oh my gosh. Susie, have you got like 5 hours? Because there is just so much in that, because this goes way, 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 way back, even before enslavement of our people, because during African civilization, to be fair, if we go back to even Egypt and you see all the kind of pictures of women
Mm,
and how they used to adorn themselves, it seems like hair was really important, you know. So they had like braids and coils and twists. And actually, I found out that they also used extensions. So they used like horsehair to
mm,
extend and to have these elaborate styles. But yeah, cane rows, twists, you name
mm,
it, goes all the way, because obviously the nature of our hair kind of defies gravity, doesn't it? So it kind of stands up. So creatively, there is so much we can do with our hair. Um, and as I say, it goes way, way back. Once enslavement took place, that was like a whole new era for Black women, African women in terms of their hair. So that whole miseducation or colonization or mind conditioning, that we then couldn't show up as we naturally were, partly because we weren't in the same conditions. So we didn't have the kind of implements, etc., that we used to have. And also because of that kind of subjugation, we were put to work on plantations, etc. So we were controlled by slavers or those who owned plantations, etc. Where do we have time to be doing our hair all in elaborate styles? We've got to be working. And then there was
mm,
another
mm,
added aspect to this, where slave masters and the women, white women, actually didn't want to see women's hair because they kind of, I don't know, were a bit jealous of our hair, that we looked kind of beautiful. It was different. So there was all this thing about covering us up. We had to cover
mm,
our hair. We had to wear wraps or head ties or whatever. So the whole subjugation of ourself, our understanding of who we are, that whole process of reconditioning us took its toll.
mm,
So we were no longer kind of happy to embrace who we were. And I'm not saying all of us, because there was a lot of resistance also.
mm, mm.
So
Yeah.
women, as we could see from like history books and video clips, etc., that Black women have braided throughout, because again, braiding and cane rows, for example, kept our hair in place for a very long time. So you didn't
Mm,
have to be combing every day, you know. So
mm,
that convenience thing and needing, you know, to have time,
mm,
etc.,
mm, mm,
goes way, way back. But
mm.
yeah, I
Freeing up
think,
that time, but yes, yes,
yeah. But the major thing was about that almost teaching us to hate ourselves, to
yes,
hate what, as we say, naturally grows out of our heads,
yes.
and that kind of gazing at white women and the establishment, and
Mm,
almost us buying into that lie that
mm,
Western beauty or European features, European hair type was better. So
yes.
that whole thing about good hair, bad hair developed,
Mm,
and
mm,
we're actually suffering from the legacy of all of that.
mm,
But there has been
mm.
a massive movement from the 60s, you know, reclaiming our hair. I remember pictures of Angela Davis, for example, with a big afro. You
Bro,
know,
yes.
she was like a real symbol
Mm,
to Black women, about being Black and proud. and Black is beautiful. So we started talking about ourselves in a different way. So that
Yeah.
narrative, which we obviously reclaim that narrative. So
Mm,
rather than Black being negative, we were saying Black is beautiful, Black is
mm,
powerful,
mm,
and talking about Black power, which for us was really about empowerment and
mm,
self-determination and defining who we are. So, yeah, we're coming out of a rich history. There are people, real trailblazers that have gone before us.
mm,
And I stand on the shoulders of those people, you know?
mm.
So, yeah,
Awesome.
it's a powerful story.
It is. It is. And you touch on the impact of the European gaze and the expectation that to be attractive, your hair was long, ideally blonde or fair,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and most definitely as near as straight as possible. So we also evolved through, hot combs and harsh chemicals, which we are now learning have very harmful impacts because what we put on our skin, our largest organ, goes straight into our bloodstream. So,
Absolutely.
we were harming ourselves both in terms of self-esteem, but also physically as
Yes.
well.
Yes,
As well.
definitely. Without even knowing that we were doing that, and buying into that narrative of like long hair. There is an obsession within our community about long hair, not
Yeah,
necessarily
yeah,
healthy hair, but long
yes,
hair. So it doesn't
yes,
matter if it's thin or whatever, but if it's long, there
yeah.
is some kind of benefit there. Do you know what I mean? So again, a lot of that kind of Western ideas of beauty still follows us to this
Mm,
day. So we're having the
yeah,
conversations, we're having the debates about this. And to
mm,
get that long hair, I think, curly perm, I think offered women that slight curliness, but still long hair. But we didn't
mm,
realize that doing that over and over again was still harmful chemicals that we were putting on our heads. And that
mm.
over time, it actually thinned our hair. So it damaged it. Yeah.
Yes,
And then also the relaxers, the hot combs, don't even talk about hot combs prior to that, and the burns that lots of my friends
mm,
talk about. And I've kind of had a straight press, maybe just before a wedding. It's all, again, that's another thing. You can't have your natural hair and go to a wedding. You're crazy.
yes,
It's got to
yes,
be straight, it's got to be all curls and or
yes,
extensions,
yes,
because your own hair, like people look down on
yes.
that or used to. But I notice
I,
now a lot of people are
yeah.
rocking up in their short, natural hair wherever they go.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
as long as they're
mm.
confident, they're wearing it with pride. But we still have
Yes,
that kind of leftover idea about
absolutely,
having this long hair and it's got to be a
absolutely.
certain way for special
Yes.
occasions.
Yes, yes, your best is the longest you can get it, and we do have a lot of our own celebrities and people who we are in the public eye. I
Yes,
shan't mention the name of the singer, who is a very well internationally famous singer with an internationally famous boyfriend rapper, um, who seems to have morphed into a woman from with lovely brown skin to having much paler skin and blonde hair, and it's just remarkable that we still it points to a deep insecurity
yes,
um, in identity and almost a willingness to sell that naturalness for the numeric rewards it gives you and the acceptability it gives you. I remember seeing Tracy Chapman with her
yeah,
lock, and that was so kind of wow.
yeah,
She's an international star, and look what her hair is like. And
yeah,
we still get amongst our community real confliction around what's right and it's a generational thing, but it's still
it really
there.
is. It really is. I mean, I tell you a story. Um, I decided to have locks in 84, I think it was, when I was at university. And when I returned to Birmingham, I studied in Manchester. I came back to Birmingham and applied for a job at a local college. I won't mention the name. And I remember my mother like really being anxious about me having locks. And she's like, can you go like that with your hair like that? And I'm like, why not? She thought, I wouldn't get the job basically. So I was going for a lecturer's post. And then when I got back and I told her that I got the job, she was quite surprised. But interestingly, my white colleagues, my voice, my white colleagues actually were like fascinated. Oh, I love your hair. They didn't like see it as anything strange, but interestingly, like we said, it's people in our own community, but it's actually that generation. And I say my
Mm,
white colleagues didn't see it as anything strange, but I think it's also because of the sector that I worked in. I'm sure
yes,
if I maybe worked in corporate or in a
yes,
law firm or whatever, I probably would have been received differently. So,
yes.
it is quite a kind of complex and nuanced.
It's very
Um,
complex, and I did work in the corporate sector, and I did rock those weaves. And then when I still didn't feel that was me. So I then felt that long extensions was the next best step to being my authentic self. And there is a huge, and I think even for, let's just say women, full stop, not just black women, just
yeah,
women, there's this hidden code about how you need to dress, behave, speak,
absolutely.
and look in the corporate sector. And, I think there are white women who are rejecting it and railing against it. But even, it's not that long ago, I've worked in places where it's not really ideal to wear a trouser suit, wear a skirt suit if you can. Nail polish needs to be clear. Earrings not ostentatious, not too big. And
Yeah,
there's this whole sense of formality, and yet when you look at people who are very well successful, people like, I don't know, Steve Jobs or whatever, and they rock up at their big meetings in jeans and trainers, and you
yeah,
think, hang on a minute.
exactly. What's the
What is
code
his,
for?
what's his uniform for? What's his hair thing? So the Crown Act in America,
Yes,
that is designed so to eliminate this type of corporate, I don't know what you call it, for conformity around hair. So we
yeah,
don't have that in the UK, but so we are seeing a lot of discrimination still, aren't we?
yeah. And I think in America, this applies in different states. So some are
Okay.
very progressive and some are not. Some still kind of ban, well, you can't go to work, with your hair like that. So I do feel it for my, African American sisters in some places
Mm.
that they can't just rock up like that. However, in the UK, we might not have, an anti-discrimination kind of act for hair. However, we do have the Equality Act. And the
Mhm.
Equality Act, one of the protected characteristics is race,
Mm.
nationality, ethnicity. So it relates to all of that.
Mhm.
So an extension of that, it just makes sense that actually how are you discriminating against somebody who is of a particular um, race and ethnicity because their hair grows in a certain way. They can't do anything about that. So
Mm.
that's kind of a bit of a contradiction there, to be honest. So for me, actually, I extend it. I think the Equality Act, maybe they need to spell it out, but I think it
Yes.
covers that because it's kind of the cultural um, offshoot of the
Mm.
ethnic
Mm.
group or
Mm.
that you're born into.
Absolutely. But I mean,
Yeah,
you can do something about it. And I think the expectation and the pressure is that you straighten it, or you wear a weave, or you cover it up, or so because we can do things, as you say, we can press it, we can do these things, but to have that as a kind of expectation, and also the hidden code is you will look more professional,
right, right.
you
And
say, is very much and not equal.
Exactly. So, in terms of discrimination, when we say something is discriminatory, it's about if you treat somebody differently in a negative way or unfavorable treatment, that is discrimination. So, are we asking white women, European women to press their hair to make it afro or big? Are we asking anything of them, or is it just one-sided? So that is plain discrimination.
Mm.
So the fact that we can do something about it shouldn't be the thinking, but that's how we think. Yeah, let's make it
Yes.
less big. Let's
Yes.
stretch so we can kind of merge and blend in and fit
Yes.
in really easily, etc. As opposed to this is who I am. You know, I'm
Yes.
showing up as I am. I have the skills, I have the qualities, I have the
Mm.
competence to do this job. I can make your business a lot of money. That should really be
The criteria. Yeah,
the
exactly.
criteria.
And
Absolutely.
you're right. We are so used to bending ourselves and making ourselves smaller, I mean, more acceptable, lighter, quieter, until we kind of diminish into nothing almost.
And
And yeah.
how can you give the best of you when you're operating from that place?
Mm,
Um, that this has always been something that's been really important to me. So from the time that I locked my hair, for me, it kind of gave me a different posture. So,
mm,
you know, my shoulders kind of went back. And once I understood who I am and my history and, you know, what I'm capable of, I'm not going to diminish myself. So
mm,
walking into, because I deliver training, ED&I training. So walking into white spaces,
mm,
I just rock up as I am. And for me, without saying a word, it's it's a political statement. I
mm,
think that this is who I am. I'm bringing what I do and my competence to the space, but my performance is not going to be based on the way my hair looks. So maybe when I walk in the room, there might be assumptions about, oh my gosh,
mm,
who's this woman? Oh, she's probably quite militant. Oh, oh. But by the end of the session, to be fair, I've never been anywhere where I've not been received well and
mm,
treated well. So
mm.
there might be a fear in us that is not unfounded, you know, in the
Yes.
sense that, and also that issue is not my issue. If you have an issue with me, that's yours. I know
Mm,
what I'm here to do. And this is how I'm showing up. I think I look professional. You know, my clothes are clean. I present well. I even sometimes put a little bit of makeup on. And, you know, I ensure that my hair is clean and I look tidy. So
Yes,
that's
exactly.
as far as I'm going. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have got caught in a bind there, haven't we? Because as you say, we are we've had this history, and maybe the shadow is long in terms of how we are bending ourselves out of shape. And I work in the neurodiversity space, advocating for individuals with different neurodivergent conditions.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of alignment in this narrative
Yeah.
around I may be dyslexic, but I have a whole bunch of skills, some of which you don't
Absolutely.
even know you want them yet, but they are amazing business skills.
Absolutely.
So really, the fact that I'm dyslexic shouldn't be I shouldn't be discriminated against because of that. And yet again, the movement around gender and identity. So
Mm-hmm.
I think, I do feel that being authentic in whatever way that works for you is a huge advantage for companies.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
it's just catching up, isn't it, really? My
Yes.
big concern really is about how black and brown children are coping because they too have discrimination in schools.
Yes.
And we're still hearing about children who are excluded because their hair is
Yes,
getting in the way and it's too big or it's too
big head.
fancy. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So it's the same discrimination really that we
yes,
might face in the workplace.
yes, definitely. And that's why I think at Return to Your Roots, we try to, what would you say, have have something target our young children
Yes.
and our teens so that
Yes.
they're growing up with the correct narrative, that we are
Yes.
building their confidence, that we are
Yes.
reading books to them that says, I love my hair and
Mm.
they're having fun. Yeah. Um, and I love my skin so that they are reinforcing their authentic selves by being
Yes.
in spaces with other young children, but also with
Yes.
adults that reinforce
Yes.
that and having the
Yes.
conversations and having space
Yes.
to talk about all of that. Because if we can
Indeed.
start really young with them being confident, owning themselves, then I think it prevents some of that kind of um, anxiety later on,
Mm. Yes.
not
Yes.
knowing who they are.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So Return to Your Roots is a family event.
Yes.
So everyone's invited, and you've mentioned children,
Yes.
teens,
Yes.
um, women, but you've
Yes.
also anything for men?
Absolutely. And this year we are going overboard with encouraging men to attend Return to Your Roots. So we are focusing mainly on men's health.
Yes.
So men's health, and particularly, prostate cancer, but also just understanding the whole spectrum from a man's point of view. We know
Mm.
that our men are not as responsive when it comes to, feeling any kind of ailments or feeling that something's wrong, but not taking action. They will
Yes.
kind of leave it until it gets
Yeah.
too bad. And then it's like, okay, maybe their wives or a girlfriend or a friend will encourage them to go to the doctors or to
Mm.
find out what's going on. So we are really encouraging them this year. There is a workshop specifically for them, and it's called Men's Health Taking Responsibility, encouraging them to take responsibility for their health. And we've got a young man, I would say, younger than me anyway, called
Mm.
Leon Marshall, and he's going to
Mm.
be there from London. He is part of the Hidden Science Academy, and he's
Mm.
written quite a lot about melanin and
Mm.
understanding melanin, but
Mm.
actually he's done a lot on health and wellness as well for men. So it's good that men are hearing from other men, but it's not
Yes.
exclusive. So women can also attend as well. But yeah, we're definitely making a beeline for the men this year.
Absolutely. And also, I remember a few years ago you had a workshop for fathers who wanted to get more involved in taking care of their daughter's hair, which I
That's
thought was
right.
wonderful.
That's
Mm.
right. That's right. And I remember one of the video clips actually went viral because of that workshop. So I think it's important for men and women to be able to look after their daughter's hair. Um, what if something happens, to somebody's partner or,
Mm.
somebody's
Break a
wife or
leg, break an arm,
yeah, or
anything.
they're in hospital for a long time.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
Yeah, you just need to know how to take care of your little girl's hair, or little boy
Yes.
if you're braiding or whatever. And
Yes. Yeah.
it was an opportunity also for men or fathers to bond with their daughters for a little time, because I think that's also important. Daddy can actually do my hair. That's really interesting. But yeah, that was a very important workshop. And we are doing a braiding workshop this year, but it's not necessarily for men, but men can attend too. So it's teaching
Mm.
braiding and cane rowing skills, because that's another thing. We've lost a lot of the knowledge around black hair care as ordinary people,
Mm.
because most of us have been going to the hairdressers to get a perm or to have
Yes.
it styled or whatever. So that knowledge in the home is sometimes kind of missing. And you might
Mm,
have mothers who are wearing like wigs or extensions. They might want their daughters to understand about, being natural, but they can't do it. They can't do their hair. Do you know what I mean? Um, so yeah, there's definitely a knowledge gap that we need to.
mm,
So yeah, we need to do some of that work. That's why it's important to just keep on talking about this and providing
yes,
workshops like we have.
yes.
Um,
So we've got at the moment there's a bit of a swing towards locking styles. The locticians was a thing you couldn't find a few years ago. Now they're springing up everywhere, and just talk us through the different sorts of locks and ease of maintenance and what it means, because there's still a lot of stigma around locks, even though it's becoming more
Definitely.
fashionable. There is still a kind of throwback to the Rasta movement and what that means, and people might think, oh gosh, sorry about that. That's me. After all that, people might think that you don't wash your hair or any other kind of misunderstanding. So I think that's quite important that we get an understanding of how that works.
Definitely. I think that that understanding is important within our community still, but also in terms of the wider society, that people
Mm,
understand that locks really is a style, a hairstyle, a way to wear your hair because of the
yes.
nature of our curls and kinks, because our
Yeah.
hair curls as it grows. Having locks is a really easy way. I say easy because it's quite easy to actually have locks, but I think you do have to maintain your locks.
Mm, mm,
But there are just so many different types. There are so many different sizes. There are sister locks. There are fine locks. There are larger locks. There are all sorts, all sorts
mm,
of types of locks, and there are also all sorts of ways of starting locks. Also,
mm, mm,
which when I deliver training around locks, we talk about the pros and cons
mm,
um, and also the cost, because there is a
mm,
cost to maintenance. But there is something for everyone. So it depends on somebody's pocket, their lifestyle, what they want to achieve, etc. So that
mm.
you really do need to have a consultation, to be fair, if you
Yes.
can, so that you understand the ins and outs of
Yes.
locking. Because once you lock, I wouldn't say it's permanent,
Yes.
totally after the first maybe year or so. Um, you can actually comb it out, but it's probably best to have a consultation before you launch in
Yes.
and lock your hair,
Yes.
So it's time consuming to be able to want to take it out after that.
Yes. It's a
So yeah,
commitment, isn't
it's
it?
really popular, really
Yeah.
popular.
Yeah. And how do you feel about obviously the style has been borrowed, if you like, because traditional Rasta locks are not uniform and refined and styled
Exactly.
in the
Exactly.
same way as sister locks or micro braids or whatever you want to call it. A micro braids lock, or is that a different thing?
Yeah, micro braids are braids, but you can also have micro locks.
Micro locks, okay.
Yeah,
So, what are your thoughts on that style being used in a more, how do we say, accessible way for people who aren't necessarily into the Rasta culture?
right. Yeah. So literally, it's a hairstyle for them. It's,
Mm.
an aesthetic as opposed to um, a religious or
Yes.
kind of cultural, they're coming from that cultural place. It's very
Mm.
much, this style sounds like it's convenient. It's a bit like having
Mm.
a protective style, but I don't have to
Yes.
keep taking out my hair every time. Yeah.
Yes.
Once I've got it locked, it's locked, and then I just have it maintained. So I think for me, I'm not I'm not kind of precious about why people go down that road. I
Mm.
think for me it's I love to see it because I'm a natural hair advocate. for
Hmm.
all kinds of reasons. And some of them we mentioned earlier about, how relaxers damage our hair, etc., etc. So the more natural we can be and show up, then, that's a positive. But I think people have locks for all different reasons. And a lot of it is because they really love the look of locks, and you can have
Mm.
long hair finally. Unfortunately, that's in it too,
Yes.
because your locks is just going to grow and grow and grow and grow. Because
Yeah.
normally
Yeah.
we comb and shed our hair when we comb.
Yes.
So now when you
Yes.
have locks, the kind of dead hair just continues to form and to grow into the locks. So
Mm.
yeah, you don't have to comb it anymore. But after
Mm.
about two years or
Mm.
less, you've got hair down your back, if that's what you
Mm.
want. So yeah, that's one way of achieving that long hair. And also
Mm.
styling, you can do so much now with locks,
Mm.
especially if they're finer locks or
Mm.
smaller locks. You at the moment, Susie, you've got it all
Mm.
wrapped up, haven't you?
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah, it's all wrapped up at the top, and
yeah,
then
there
just
you go, a bit hanging down.
length at the back. And
Yeah,
I can plait it. I can updo the plaits. I can cane row
exactly,
it. Also, it's
exactly.
so versatile. It really is.
Exactly.
It's the best thing I ever did.
Yeah.
The best thing
And that's
you ever
most
did.
and that's what most people say actually. They wish they'd done it sooner, but nothing before its time.
Mm,
And
mm,
I think for me and my locks, I like to have kind of shorter locks, because it's easier for me to manage, but also I just like the kind of bob look.
yes, yes, and it suits your sort of face shape. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about men? What are men doing with their hair at the moment? Because young men, there seem to be a lot of creativity in what they're
Oh my
doing, and
gosh.
it's kind of a difficult space. I think when you are a teenager and you have to kind of abide by school rules,
Yes.
but you also want to be individual and express yourself. So they can
Yeah.
hang on till they're 18. What are the trends? What are men doing at the moment with their or young men doing with their hair?
I think young men, they kind of follow, celebrities also, to be fair. So a lot of the footballers, if you notice, have got locks, and they
Mm,
have them braided or, styled in some really interesting ways.
mm,
So, cane road back, but also boys are having cane rows quite a lot, but real intricate
mm.
styles,
Yes,
part in
yes,
the middle and plaits coming down the side or going back. But I do think the celebrities are the trendsetters.
yes,
So for them, it's very much, what's in at the moment. I want my hair
yes,
like that. And
yes,
you still find some young boys who are just kind of traditional, and they want
yes,
their locks, and they're just like big locks. They grow as and when, and,
yes,
they're not that fussed. But
yes.
definitely the celebrities are setting the trend. And I notice all over the world now, even African players, African Americans, celebrities, singers, stars, a lot of them are rocking styles
Mm,
as opposed to having the
mm.
short back and sides that
Yes,
was the norm in the past. Um,
yes,
as they used to call the people with short back and sides, the bar leads.
yes, yes, exactly.
Yeah. But I think
Uh,
it's really interesting to see, and I just love it. I love it. I
mm,
love to see the different styles and the creativity, and that
mm,
they're taking pride,
mm,
in themselves. But it's almost like
mm.
a cultural shift as well. And
Exactly.
I also find white boys doing it as well. So they're
Yes, yes,
they're braiding and they're
yes, yes.
locking and so on as well. So it's interesting. The power of that movement is
Absolutely.
definitely taking shape in other communities.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. When people come to your event, can they get hair done? Can they get a shape or a cut or can they try
Okay.
something new?
Well, if they come to the event, depending on what they want, I'm not sure about the cuts. But definitely, if they have locks, they can probably have those tidied a little bit. braiding. There'll be people there doing that.
Hmm.
There's a lot of advice. They can talk to them
Hmm.
about wanting to lock and what that actually means. So there'll be lots and lots of knowledge, information, education. Um,
Yes.
as normal, I say normal, we have Design Essentials as our sponsor. They've been sponsoring
Mm.
us for like 5 years now. They are
Yes.
amazing because they're one of the few natural hair product companies in
Oh,
the UK. And
yes.
that aligns really well with what we are trying to do. So
Yes.
they
Yeah.
will be educating, they'll be doing a session on tips, styling for loose naturals, for people
Mm.
with locks. So the whole 9 yards will be covered.
Mm.
So
Mm.
have a workshop on locks itself. So anything you need to know about locks. You're thinking of
Yes.
locking, attend because you can ask those questions. What do I
Yeah.
do if? What's going to happen if? Before you
Yes.
embark on that journey, because that's really
Yes.
important to do your
And how much
research.
will it cost to maintain? Because there's a lot of
Exactly.
misinformation out there, and I think, and each, every sphere of hair locking, people will have different skills and expertise.
Exactly.
So you want to find the right person for you and what you're looking for, etc.
Absolutely.
So I think it's great to have a chance to speak to people and really, as say, really give yourself as much knowledge as possible. Because for me,
Exactly.
it wasn't something that I rushed into. But when I did it, it was fantastic because I kind of understood what was coming, what I had to do, and all the rest of it. And it's kind of life changing. It really is when you've
Absolutely.
when you've done it. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you do it that the right way, because
Yes.
I can't think of anyone that's had locks. I think maybe one person and then pulled it out because they didn't want it anymore, after maybe six weeks or 8 weeks. But
Really.
that's why you need to do your research and just take it slowly, find out
Yeah.
everything about,
Yes.
locking first and then decide how, size, when, how you're going to maintain it going forward, etc. So get
Yeah.
the information first, do the fact
Yes.
find, and then progress from there. But
Yes,
yeah,
from there. So if you're
so
coming along to find out about some wellness tips, so Leah Salmon's going to be there.
yes, that
So
honestly, I can't say enough about this workshop.
yes.
It's
So tell us a
called,
bit about that one.
yeah, it's called Your Blood Speaks. And
Hmm.
basically, Leah Salmon has been working with the community. She's a naturopath
Hmm.
for a very long time. And what she does is takes a little bit of blood and then she puts it under a kind of computer, really, so that she can see exactly what's happening with your blood cells. But as a result of that, you will know what is actually happening um,
Mm.
with your body and what you need to take in terms of natural products, etc., to
Mm.
counter anything that's going on. So she's going to do a live demonstration on the day, so
Mm.
people will be able to see somebody's blood cells swimming around. I was going to say, which will be
Yes.
really, really good. So that's going to be really powerful.
Yes. And
And also the other health workshop that is going to be really, really interesting is the workshop on cancer. So we haven't gone there before.
mm,
So this one it's called The Effects of Experiencing Cancer
mm,
and Redefining Beauty
mm,
afterwards or during, because
mm,
the woman that's running this is called Clancy Williams and she had a mastectomy.
mm,
And she's the one that is really promoting this. She will be launching a calendar for Black women to
mm,
take some photos of themselves and, just about empowering women again. Um,
mm.
but it's unique to Black women that sometimes they don't get the same attention once they've
Yes.
had, cancer, like they're losing their hair, the
Mm,
wigs or whatever isn't that they're not out there in the same way that they are for European women. But
Yes.
also in terms of relationships, you go out with somebody, at what point do you tell them you only have one breast? Or do you go there when, how's that going to impact that relationship? And for some
Mm,
women, they just don't bother. They'll just decide, you know what, forget it. I'll just stay home and just not
mm,
bother with that because it's too much anxiety or stress to even think about. So we're definitely
mm.
going to be having that conversation and inviting men to that workshop as well.
So powerful. What with that, and then the male one as well, and then also I remember seeing that Kahindi Andrews is on the is on the program to give us a quick overview of what he'll be talking about.
Okay, now that's interesting. It's another Kendi. So this is
Oh,
Kendi from London, and
okay.
he's from the Manhood Academy. Now this
Oh,
is
that one. I
different.
thought it was Birmingham. It was Andrews. Apologies.
No worries, no worries. And Kiendi's great, and doing a lot here. But I
Hmm.
really wanted to bring Kiendi from the Manhood Academy.
Yes, yes,
As you know, in all these metropolitan areas, we've been having so many issues with
mm,
our young boys.
yes.
Lots of stabbings that have been in the media, etc. And all of this starts somewhere. So
Mm,
what we wanted to do initially was to talk to the boys, but I thought maybe that's quite risky because bringing boys from different areas into the same space might not be a good idea. So I thought, can we get parents in the room? Can we get guardians? Can we get people that look after these young boys to understand what the world might look like for those young boys? Um, what do our parents need to do maybe so they understand some of the stresses, some of the anxiety that our young boys are going through? Could we possibly stop them from being groomed if we understand the space and how the land lies for them? Because I think there is a lot of ignorance with parents
mm.
because sometimes we look at the world through our own eyes and the perspective that we have is based on our values, how we were brought up, and we're not really understanding what's happening on the ground. And then when something happens, we're just like appalled and amazed and like shocked. And this is, young boys who maybe have been brought up in church or been brought up with great values, etc. And they too have kind of gone by the wayside.
Mm.
So we can't kind of point fingers at, oh, that's a bad family. They live on a council estate. Or, that's not what this is about. This is about if you want to understand what's going on and how you can assist and help, come along to this workshop.
That sounds very powerful. And I think you're quite right in terms of perspectives and generations. And what I've learned in my work is the communication breakdowns. That's
Absolutely.
a really big part of it. And also the advent of social media
Mm-hmm.
and how there is a desire for belonging and fitting in. And then it feeds back into the discrimination of young boys and men,
Absolutely.
and what is their place in society and how are they managing how are they
Mm-hmm.
managing with education, how are they managing with employment, how are they
Exactly.
managing with life. And as you say, when you've had one or two knockbacks, we might see a boy who's angry or a boy in a hood, but what we don't see is the younger boy, the child inside him who is crying.
Exactly. Exactly. And what's actually led him to that place. Everybody has a story, everybody has a journey, whatever age you are. And sometimes we're just too quick to judge. So let's try and understand this from a totally different perspective and from their perspective.
Yes.
So Kiendi has worked tirelessly with
Mm.
young boys and he provides a
Awesome.
mentoring service. So
Yes.
at the end of this, we don't just want to have the conversation and then it finishes. We want to think about how can we then support go in an ongoing way So then we might have like some mentoring sessions online or something like that for the young boys if parents feel that their, child
Mm.
might need something like that. So yeah,
And
it's
also,
good
some
to
of these
talk. It's
boys
good to do.
are neurodivergent too, and that's not diagnosed. So
Absolutely.
lots of issues around, mental health and anxiety, things
Yes.
things that, girls are slightly better at talking about and sharing, not entirely, but we kind of are more sympathetic to young girls who are expressing difficulties in,
Yes.
issues around growing up and issues around relationships. We
Mhm.
just kind of, in a way, leave our young boys and men to get on with it.
I agree. I agree. And in light of the kind of change in, the way boys and men kind of see their role and see
Mm,
themselves in
mm,
society, you know,
mhm,
with all the influences also online, um, it really is imperative that we do something to help to anchor our boys and, have that intergenerational space for them and for
mm,
us to understand them and for us to pass on some wisdom to them. We're in it together. We can't operate in silos. And I think that's the problem.
mm. And I think also to have the opportunity to, if there were mentoring that could happen afterwards, it's that whole classic of the boys understanding that their peers are just like them,
Absolutely.
just
Yeah.
like you. They just happen to live, in a different postcode.
Yeah. Yeah. Just
And
break
the
down.
postcode thing is absolutely real.
Ah,
I don't think we, as in a different generation, we understand how important that is, and it does lock them in to that area, to that street, to
yes.
that manner, and that is part of what they've grown with.
Yes.
Because
Definitely.
the opportunities elsewhere seem so closed. So I'll take what I can get. I'll take the leadership and the authority where I find it.
Exactly. Because they can't get it in other spaces, and then that becomes their reality. It's like this quote from a sociologist, can't remember their name now, but it says, if you perceive something to be real, then it's real in its consequences.
Mm,
And that is powerful because
mm.
perception is reality. So a lot of
Two-thirds reality. Yeah.
are
Yeah.
carrying knives around, yeah. A lot of them are just ordinary kids. And when you ask them why are they taking knives around, oh, it's for their safety. And they really, really believe that. And they really feel that. So it gives them a sense of safety. But actually, the flip side of that is you have a knife, possibly going to use it in a situation, you
Mm,
know? So perception definitely is reality. So we need to, again, change some of those narratives and perspectives by having the conversations.
mm. It's lovely to hear because I think what we've started off, what you started off with in terms of hair and roots, has grown and grown and grown and grown, and it's become its own village,
It
which
is.
is absolutely
That
wonderful.
is it. Yeah. Spot.
Absolutely wonderful.
Yes. It is about how do we ensure that we keep the village safe, that everybody's
Mm,
playing their part in the village,
mm.
So it is. It's about community. It's reclaiming that um,
Yes.
and ensuring that people understand who they are
Mm,
as part of that and what we need to do to support.
mm. So
Yeah.
just tell me the web address again, and it will be in all the details
Yeah.
underneath the post, but just give us a once over how people can find out more and book tickets.
Okay. So people can find out about Roots by just going to the Roots website because we've got then links to ticket page, etc., and all the information that you need about the event is on the website. So if you just click on
Which
Return to
is
25,
down to your roots
so
25.
website is returntoyourroots.com. It's as simple as that. But in words,
All one
return
word.
all one word, returntoyourroots.com. Okay.
Awesome.
So once you land on the site, click on Roots 25, and there you have all the information. And also, you can click from there to buy tickets on the Shoob's website as well. But yeah, it's just going to be an awesome event, but it's going to be fun. There's a lot going on. There's 12 workshops. We've got some amazing speakers. So we have Rosemary Campbell Stevens, who's coming all the way from Jamaica
Rap,
to,
rap.
yeah, speak to us about, and her talk is about returning to your roots. So it's actually called Remember, Reset, and I think it's Reconnect, Repair. Okay. So again, in all its guises, it's about taking care of ourselves and reconnecting to our roots. So there's just so much on diabetes, on hair, on health. It's everything in one. Lots of entertainment also. So
And
music,
a fashion show,
fashion
this
show
year.
at the end. You were in the fashion show well, 2 years ago, I think you were in the fashion show. And I've still got clips of you walking
Oh,
down, you know, and that was brilliant. So there's a fashion show, there's lots of raffle prizes. We're supporting two charities,
yes.
Felicity Foundation, Felicity in Haiti, and
Wonderful.
also Spelmore Institute in Ghana. Um,
Wonderful. Wonderful.
so yeah, we're just doing so much, lots
Gonna
of good
be an
facts and
amazing,
everything. So
gonna
yeah,
be an amazing day, an absolutely amazing day. So get on down to returntoyourroots.com in Birmingham, UK, and on May the 10th,
May the 10th.
which is
Um,
a Saturday.
it's about 13 days away. So
Okay.
there's a countdown as usual now to the day itself. So
Absolutely.
yeah, it's going to be absolutely amazing. Lots of amazing vibes and people and
Get
yeah.
yourself down there. So thank you, Khembe. It's absolutely lovely to talk to you and find out about this wonderful event that you've just nurtured. It's like your garden, and now you're sitting back and watch 9 years later, you're watching your garden grow and grow, and
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
it's wonderful, and I look forward to seeing you there. Should be coming, hopefully. Of course, I'll be there.
Okay.
And
Yes, depending.
yeah, thank you very much for your time.
And
And
thank you, Susie. Thank you for having me. It's been lovely speaking to you again, as we always do, but lovely speaking to you in this way and continue with all the great work that you're doing. Also, it's good that everybody's got their little channel, they've got their gift, they've got
mm,
their reason and their
mm,
purpose. And it's
mm.
lovely that, we're here supporting each other to do what we
Yes,
do best.
yes,
So thank
absolutely,
you.
absolutely.
All right.
Okay, that was
The best
Khembe Clarke, founder of the Return to Your Roots event, talking to Energy in Motion podcast, and there is so much energy going into that project. It's energy literally in motion. It's energy you can see, touch, feel, and enjoy. So make yourself available on the 10th of May. Thank you very much. Take care.